And we're on. Hello and welcome to Big 12 Mafia. Today I've got Jarom Jordan with us here today. Hey, Jarom.
What's up? What's going on, Nathan?
We're just talking a little bit of BYU. We've got quite a bit of coverage that we do for BYU. We do the Big 12. And then I've got a show called The Holy Rivals that is all about the Holy War in Utah. So I'm
Love it,
trying to,
man.
service both those things. I think Utah's really they disenfranchised themselves by some of their PR over the last year. And so a couple months ago, I met with, finally found a Ute that could put two sentences together without spitting venom at me. And
Oh
that's
boy,
Wild Ute, and he's fantastic. So if you have a chance to join our show or watch it at some point, man, I think you'd love it.
awesome.
So let's just start off. Why don't you give a quick introduction to who you are, and I'm going to bring up your webpage so everybody can see, put a name with a face.
Yeah. So I'm Jarom. I'm from West Jordan. Grew up in the Northwest, Portland, till I was about 13 or 11. Parents divorced, moved to Utah, and then I started going to BYU games. And I've been a BYU fan most of my life. And fortunately, I went to BYU, graduated from BYU, had a student job there, and I've only known the one job. It's evolved, but the one spot's been great. Obviously, we enter a new era with the Big 12 coming up here, which is super exciting. So,
Absolutely.
BYU Sports Nation and play-by-play on volleyball and soccer a little bit, and men's basketball studio host are my current responsibilities. I used to produce the pre- and post-game show for football, basically 2011 until 2019, and then I did the first 4 years of the coaches' shows on TV for basketball and football. And then I did some other producing, but now I don't produce anything.
Right.
I was in charge of Deep Blue from 2019 until about 2 months ago. And so I'm just 100% calling games and doing shows now, which is fun.
So what changes now? I know I've had questions come up on the show before. What changes in BYU's broadcasting from before to what it's going to be now that we're in the Big 12 and we have the Fox and ESPN contract?
Yep. So we will be producing the same games we have been. They're just going to be on ESPN Plus. So BYU TV, the only team that we actually show live games now will be men's volleyball because they're the only team that doesn't go to the Big 12. But we will produce all the games unless ESPN, ESPN2, ABC, Fox, FS1 come in and do a football game or a men's basketball game, or in the case of an occasional like women's volleyball game on ESPNU type of thing.
Okay.
Unless it's that linear situation, if it's an ESPN Plus only broadcast, which is where everything goes of all the other 7 sports that we've been doing.
Right.
We will broadcast those on ESPN Plus. So BYU TV, like it won't seem like BYU TV, except you'll see me and Spencer and Dave calling those games.
Right.
Unless it's on a linear channel, like, oh, this game's on FS1. Obviously, Fox brings in their guys.
Right.
So not a lot changes for us. It changes that in that you need to go to ESPN Plus. But like I'm still calling every home women's volleyball match that I'm available for, like on ESPN Plus instead of BYU TV. So it'll feel a little different. Obviously, you have to pay and go to ESPN Plus, but like if you're a BYU fan, you have to have ESPN Plus to watch Cougar sports now.
And I think they do. And pretty much you buy it with the Disney bundle. And
This
it's just like anything else.
Has Disney Plus.
Yes,
right?
I think
yes. So. And all of our studio shows, pre- and post-game football, men's basketball, BYU Sports Nation, After Further Review, Coordinator's Corner, Satake Show, Pope Show, all that is still on BYU TV. Nothing changes there.
Okay. I think that thank you so much for giving. You've answered a lot of questions. I think it's interesting. If BYU's producing the stuff that's local, do they get money from ESPN to do that production?
No, because yes.
Okay.
Yes. The league, part of the TV deal is, hey, you need to make this happen. Typically, that's through the OIT department of that school.
Okay.
But we're uniquely set up with a broadcasting arm.
Right. Right.
And so, obviously, we're the ones that are, like, ready and able to do it. Our OIT could absolutely do it, but the volume would be a bit much. Plus, it's like, what are we going to do? Just not do anything? Like, we're part of my boss has said, hey, part of your job is ESPN Plus now. Just saying.
Okay.
It's like, cool.
I think that's fantastic. And I think that'll really get Cougar fans happy and excited because everybody's fallen in love with BYU TV's production quality. This whole time there's been jokes
Yeah.
about the Pac-12 should lease back BYU TV and they should do their broadcasting for them because everybody's been so impressed with the coverage. I'm hearing from people from the East Coast. A lot of Big 12 followers have said the same thing. And certainly anybody that I brought in from the Pac-12 that has seen those production games have been super impressed. So I think that's really cool
nice
to hear that.
Yeah, that's very nice. And look, if we have a BYU TV pregame show at the same time as, say, a women's soccer volleyball match,
right?
We're going to go all in on our show. There are certain minimums that we'll meet with ESPN, and we'll give it a good go, of course. But I'm not sure we're going to make it the Super Bowl like it was before when we have our own pre and post game show. Say football, that's our biggest deal is that show.
Right.
Now. I mean, besides a Tuesday BYU Sports Nation. I'm just kidding.
Well, I'm doing the best I can here. All right. I really appreciate you joining the show. I want to bump Coug Connect right now. If everybody goes to that QR code with your phone on your computer, scan that thing and sign up for Coug Connect's NIL and give them $10. $10 gets you all the insider info they give you on the back end. And I am trying really hard, Jarom, to get people to do NIL because I know if BYU wants to be big time, they're going to need to do stuff like that. And LDS people generally are cheap. And so it's going to take a while for us to break.
And a generous fast offer.
I'm so tired of hearing that. If we want to play big time football, we need to be paying money for it.
Are Alabama fans giving 10% though?
I just that's a lousy excuse. I'm telling you. I think it's funny you say that, but yeah, no, I think that's a BS. $10, everybody can afford $10. Anyway.
By the way, Jake Brandon, who is the head of Coug Connect,
right? Yeah, Jake
lives down the street from me.
Does he really?
I like Jake and I like Coug Connect. Shout out to them.
Well, I've done some stuff with Jake. He's the one who set me up with the sort of the advertising so that we could get him hopefully some promotion money. But yeah, please let him know that you talked to me and we had a really good time. I hope to get out to lunch and go out. Anyways, getting off topic, just really, really enjoy you guys in general. So let's talk NIL real quick and recruiting since we're there. Where do you think BYU stands? Not this year because obviously it's a growing concern, but we've come leaps and bounds from where we were even a year ago with football, especially, aren't we?
Yeah, recruiting. Listen, we have a top 20 transfer portal class.
Wasn't it 18? I think it was 18 last I saw it.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I like it a lot because let's be honest, BYU's rarely won the day in recruiting rankings. That's not everything. It's based on stars and so on. But I'm not going to complain if we're 18th. I'm going to celebrate that. That's great.
Yeah.
Because we need to win now. And we've got to do it a certain way at BYU and whatnot. Now, I do have questions and concerns about the direction we're going.
Okay.
And that direction is hopefully we're not selling our birthright for a one and dones too often to where we have no depth behind them.
Right.
When you're getting guys with 2 and 3 years of eligibility, I think that's great. You need a handful of one and dones. Keaton Slovis is a welcomed one and done after Jaron Hall. He's as good of a transfer as we could have gotten. And there has been an uptick due to being in the Big 12 and going to the Big 12, obviously.
Right.
And it's also the success of the programs. Lauren Gustin comes back to BYU because he believes in this team.
Yeah.
Even though Utah tried to steal her away, and Utah was an awesome team. She could have easily gone there, and the argument could easily be made they're going to be better than BYU next year.
Right.
But this young team could be very good. And in football, the injection of 20 transfers, hopefully the chemistry can be figured out. But if the freshmen and return missionaries coming out of high school were ready and able to contribute more than those transfers, they would be the ones called upon. But right now, they are not ready-made. It is more microwave than oven now in recruiting. You're just throwing in that microwave dinner. Boom, I need it now in the next year or two. And it doesn't help that BYU is coming off, the young guns of 18 and 19 that were freshmen and sophomores and cut their teeth on 7 and 6 twice. They're the ones the last 2 and 3 years that have produced 11 and 1, 10 and 3. 8 and 5 was disappointing, but that was a talented team, right? You got
in the defense. Yeah, everybody knows where that was. So
in a couple of years, we're going to look back and be like, there was so much talent in those groups.
I agree.
And the Barringtons go to Baylor, but you replace them with a lot of offensive line talent coming in,
Right.
which is exciting, and Paul Maile and Caleb Etienne and Waylon Lapuapu and so on. I like where BYU is going, which is it's more talented than I think it has been the last couple of years. I just hope, like in football, a little easier with 20 dudes out of 85 scholarships. That's a fourth of them.
Right.
In men's hoops, I wonder about the role of like the return missionary kid that's a 3-star. Like I think BYU is aiming really high.
Yeah, they are.
And they're shooting their shot with a lot of guys, pun intended. But like I just wonder if that sort of how BYU does BYU need to be, and does it matter? What I mean by that is the kid that grew up loving BYU, that wanted to go to BYU, is there as much of a spot for him because BYU's number one recruiting advantage is what? Members of the church want to go to BYU. That is easily the number one thing.
And the reach. We go ocean to ocean, right?
Yes. The brand is super strong,
right?
Because it's tied to the church. And the members, and obviously winning and tradition and Jimmer and Zach Wilson and Jaron Hall and these guys. There's a lot that goes into that. I just hope that in this new transfer portal era, which I'm pro transfer portal, that you don't rely too much on a bunch of randos that don't come together in terms of chemistry and sort of, they have to, and I'm sure the staffs are doing this, understand what BYU is and what it means to be a BYU athlete.
Right.
There's a certain standard, there's an honor code and so on. As long as that happens, I love it, right? And obviously we're trying to win here, and that's the ultimate goal of these teams is win and win the right way. But win is the number one thing. If you don't win, there's no relevance. It doesn't matter. It's not sort of this bigger thing in the scope of like the morality of BYU and so on.
Right.
As long as we recruit, and we are, people who understand what BYU is, then I think it's good. If it's just a bunch of random people and it doesn't work and suddenly a coach gets fired, it's like, what is in that cupboard? Because it may not be as many like talented return missionaries coming back that are going to inject themselves in the program. Like, I don't know. Right now in the pipeline, there's like one RM coming down in men's hoops, and it's all like, we got to win now, guys, which I get. But I'm not concerned about the next year or two. I'm concerned about 3 to 5 years. It's like, well, is this gonna be a 12 random guys? And part of me, and I'm talking too much here, is
you're all right. Go ahead.
Is that okay? And it probably is. I just wonder if BYU. I just would hate for BYU not to tap into its number one recruiting opportunity. That is.
I kind of have a different take on the transfer portal stuff. I kind of look like who was it that just came over from Oregon that had been there for 2 years?
Harrison Taggart.
Yeah, and he got very, very few snaps. And now he's like, look, I burned through my young years. Now I'm more wise. I want to go someplace where not only am I happier, but we're going to win longer term, right? We're not just trying to do everything right now and immediate. And if they do that across all LDS kids, then you could have a lot of people like that go to Utah, for instance, for a couple of years. Yeah, they play there, but then they come to BYU, and then they're here for 2 or 3 years, and then they can really blossom and dominate.
Yeah, I like that one. And he only played in 3 games last year, so he redshirted. It's got 4 years.
Right.
Which is exciting. Yeah, and there are more of those recently than you'd think. Puka Nacua at Washington.
Right.
Amatia at Oregon. Dawson Baker at UC Irvine.
That's right.
Men's basketball. Yeah. So there are more of those. But yeah, I think it's important for BYU to be BYU with a great influx of all kinds of people that contribute in an amazing way on and off the court and field and mat and whatnot, to make it a place that is becoming more and more diverse and inclusive than it has been in the past. Totally. My concern isn't, I'm not saying don't recruit a certain type of person. What I'm saying is I would like BYU to continue to take advantage of its number one recruiting advantage.
Well, and for years we've been losing it now to Utah, and that's been a challenge for BYU fans. But now the tables are even, and in a lot of cases, I'm hearing from Big 12 and ACC even some fans that are like, yeah, Utah, and I have a lot of the Utah watchers, so I want to make sure I say I'm not dissing Utah at all. This is a perception issue that I've always told Wild Ute, and that is, yeah, Utah has a high standard, right? They've set themselves a high bar. They've been in the championship game in the Pac-12 for 4 years running. They won it twice in football, sure.
And gymnastics and skiing.
Let's just talk football. So they had that high standard, and then over the last year, by the way the Pac-12 media deal is gone, they've lost a lot of that gravitas. A lot of people didn't like the way that they talked about the Big 12 and a potential move. And I'm not going to get into what they said and didn't say, but my point is that Utah is well respected, but everybody knows BYU, whereas a lot of people don't know Utah.
Utah's brand is still growing, and they've done a tremendous job the last 2 years winning the Pac-12, right? Overcoming BYU's Pac-12 South Division title in 2021. That we like to kid about. But yeah, if I'm Utah, I'm not butthurt that USC and UCLA left. The door's open for me to walk through if I'm Utah. Yeah, I think we'll see a resurgence from SC this year at least. Oregon and Washington, did they take over there? Utah's in a great spot, honestly. Like they have built up a decade of like chipping away at that 11th season, right? Got the championship, now the 12th. Like they're recruiting a lot of guys at a high level that want to be in a Power 5 league that maybe wanted to go to SC and UCLA, but go to Utah because they know they can win and still be in the league and they feel like they can play and whatnot. Like that's a good spot. Like I respect that. I'm jealous of that success, frankly, on the football field. Like I hope no later than the 11th year that BYU can get a Big 12 title in football. Like that'd be awesome and playing a big time bowl game.
I think in 5 years, if we turn around and we really exploit NIL, I think in 5 years we could be there.
That'd be great. And I think BYU will trend that direction. Like how talented can BYU get? How many of these athletes that didn't want to go to BYU because of maybe no Power 5, does BYU suddenly get in this space that perhaps NIL helps in and being competitive and good culture, obviously. BYU's got a huge sort of, I think, advantage in the way that it runs its program, and Klein Taki is to be credited with that. Yeah, it's awesome.
Well, I think I love hearing the way your perspective, because you're seeing these guys all the time, right? You're behind the curtain in a lot of ways, and so you're able to really communicate what they're sort of feeling. You really want to know? There is one question. It has nothing to do with the team or anything. What is the situation with the stadium? I've sent private messages to.
What do you mean with
the
tickets?
Football stadium? No, the actual stadium itself. The seating, the way it's set up, the antiquated corners, just everything about LES. Why don't they tear that thing down and build one across the street on that old flag football field where they do parking? I don't understand why they don't
crown
do that.
Flag football intramural champions. How would we do that? No.
Well, we put them on the rubble where the old stadium used to
be. There's no way that the BYU ever tears that thing down for a new one. I don't think. I think they'll just build into it. I think they've done. Yeah. Listen, I don't think it needs to be bigger. By the way, like BYU's not selling out the stadiums.
Well, they will.
They got to do it though for years.
I think it's going to happen. Look, how quickly did we sell season tickets? I couldn't even get close to being a season ticket holder because I wasn't already part of the Cougar Club. So if you weren't already there, you
didn't donate $1 million yet.
I didn't. No, I didn't.
Once upon a time, I asked Tom Hummel about like filling in the gaps or building a second tier, and he said if anything, we'd build a second tier on the east side.
Okay.
He said, but we'd have to sell out for like 10 straight years just to have that discussion.
Okay. All right.
But that was a long time ago. I want to say that was like 10 or 12 years ago. Look, in the first 5 years, if BYU is selling out every game and starts to get real good, I'm not talking 8-5. I'm talking 10-3, 11-2, 12-1s.
Right.
Like we go to a place we've never been. Like that these teams are better than 83, 84, 96, and so on, because those 06, because this is a different level, right?
Right.
And BYU's raking in up to $50 million a year in TV contract, March Madness, college football playoff, corporate sponsorships and units in March Madness and so on. Now you have the conversation because you have the money where you can do something nice. But I think there are a few other things I'd like to get first, like an indoor practice facility that is football only. Right now, football uses it's a multi-purpose facility.
Oh, I
Golf
didn't know that.
and
I thought it was just a
intramurals.
football. Okay.
No.
I didn't know that.
Well, they have their own practice. When we say locker room, we don't mean LaVelle Edwards Stadium. We mean it in the student athlete building.
No, I know what you're talking about.
Every day, right?
Right.
But LES needs it needs a new press box. It needs more amenities. And the last couple of years, they've done a nice job of adding Wi-Fi, adding replays in the app, adding some more little suites over here. They gotta redo the press box to me. They need their own indoor practice facility.
Okay.
Build a new one where Provo High is.
Right. Well, they own the land. Why not?
Yes, they do. And build a bridge over University Avenue to get to it.
Yeah.
So and then they just have a gajillion golf carts and they just go up and over and then listen, everybody that uses the indoor practice facility for whatever, they can use it. Men's hoops and women's hoops are the only teams who have their own facility like that.
Okay.
Even volleyball walks in, it's oh, get out at 6. We have intramural basketball.
Okay.
Or whatever. It's tough. So men's hoops and women's hoops, they can go in and get up shots whenever they want. Football does not have this ability, although they have their own outdoor practice fields. I'm talking about when it's cold and when it's raining and when it's winter.
Yeah, I'm talking about the one
Heisman without it.
I'm talking about the one they built. They do the NFL pre-draft workouts in. That's what I was thinking, but I didn't realize that wasn't dedicated to football.
It's like the Marriott Center. It's a multi-purpose facility,
which
for
sounds
devotionals and fire.
That's definitely on brand for the church. So I get it. I understand. And you're right. I think money has to come first. That's the difference at BYU versus a state university is the University of Southern Florida. They just got $270 million to build a new stadium, right? There was the stadium that Snapdragon did for San Diego State. They got state money for that. We're not getting that money. So again, going back to the Coug Connect and the NIL, we need to start ponying up some money to help support those programs. But I think when you talk to Homo again, just say, hey, look, there's a dearth of information that people really would like to know. At the very least, what you've just given me now, I don't know who's watching right this second, but they could take a clip of that and they could put it on YouTube and say, hey, look, here's the answer we've all been looking for, because nobody will talk about it. It's like a black box. Nobody wants to talk about the indoor football stadium or practice facility like you were just talking about, which I've never even heard before, and what they're going to do with the football stadium. I mean, just put a little information out there. I'm not asking for open up the whole cupboard and look at the kitchen sink and what's in it. Just give us a little bit so that we can understand kind of what the potential is and where we want to be.
Yeah, listen, next time he's on and if we have time, which, hey, let's create time. I think those are fair questions. What's the future of the LaVelle Edwards Stadium? What are the possibilities? What are you talking about potentially doing? And how much are we talking about? How many years of revenue do you need to feel okay, now, is it year 5 in the Big 12?
Right.
Where you're okay, we saved up $70 million, we can redo the press box.
Exactly.
Or whatever it costs. Maybe it's way more. I have no idea.
Well, I'm a project manager by trade. And so for me, setting expectations is the number one thing you do at work every day. If you can get your team to buy into what those expectations are, they will literally run through walls to meet those expectations if they bought into them. But if you just ask people to just work hard, but they don't know what the goal is, good luck getting people to buy in and give money, or like this struggle I'm having with the Coug Connect and just getting people to join for $10. You wouldn't even think that would be that big deal, but people don't understand. They're not educated on how to do it, which is why I wanted to meet with you. I wanted to have Jake on again, and we just need to do a better job of evangelizing, which is ironic because that's all we do is evangelize as a church. So anyway, I would, if you could hook it up so Tom Homo would come on my show and I could have you both here. That would be fantastic. So you talk to him for me. I send him DMs. He doesn't reply to me. So I don't know what else to do about that.
I talked to him today, but not about that.
Okay. Well, let him know my name's Nathan Brown and I'm BYU Big 12 Mafia. And I want to know.
He's like, oh, that guy in my DMs. Yeah.
Maybe. I'm not stalking him. I want to be straight. I'm just asking him questions.
He has open DMs. How about that?
He does have open DMs. He just doesn't answer any of them. So good as that. I like to think that he's sitting at home at church. When he's not doing anything at church, he's scrolling through these DMs, going, "Wow, that guy really wants. What's he saying? What's going on there?" Anyway,
that would be fun.
I know I don't have you for all night. So can I ask you 2 more questions?
At least.
Okay. Oh, wow. If you want to stay, I've even got more. Let's talk about SDSU and the messaging that they did, the screw up, in my opinion, where they wanted out and then they didn't want out and then they wanted out again, and how that has affected the Pac-12 thing, which June 30th is coming right up. What do you think about all that?
Yeah, if they had been invited, this makes sense. But and then again, no one's like, we will invite you. It's like it just happens, right? It's just sudden, like boom, September 10th, 2021. We're in the Big 12 in like a year and a half. Oh my gosh. Yeah, listen, I don't think the Big 12 is going to invite San Diego State until they know that they can't get any other Pac-12 crumbs.
Right.
Like if Oregon and Washington are holding out for the Big 10, okay, good luck. If the Four Corners are waiting until the Big 12, and like Utah doesn't want to leave, I could see Arizona and Colorado leaving if the Big 12 contract is, they're like, all right, the best we can do is Apple and its $21 million a year in TV revenue. And again, a couple things here. When the Pac-12 TV deal comes out, they look to see, is that TV revenue or is that all revenue? Because those are 2 different numbers. For BYU starting in 25, that is $31.7 million in TV only.
That's right.
And then it's like they think it could be up to 50 in total revenue. Again, it's TV, and then you add in, everybody gets a cut of the college football playoff money, by the way. Units from March Madness, corporate sponsorships. There's a bowl game revenue. There's a ton of other things. Big 12 football title game, the Big 12 tournament in men's basketball. These revenue drawing
Rucker
events.
Park. You got the stuff in Mexico. All the other stuff that Yormark's been doing. Yeah.
If they, hey, we do a radio deal in Mexico and that's X. We spread it out. Whatever.
Right.
That's the number. When the Pac-12 deal comes out, if they say, oh yeah, it's 32 mil all inclusive, it's like, oh, that's all inclusive, or is that TV? Like, and let's say somehow that number, the TV number only, is higher than the Big 12's. Let's say it was 31.8. It was just 100,000 more.
Right.
How much better is it to be on ESPN and Fox than anything else?
Exactly.
What if they said it's CBS and CBS Sports Network,
right,
and then it's Apple? That's not as good.
No, of course not.
Even it's not all about, like they say, it's all about the money.
Right.
Trust me. Like when you just roll up to wherever you eat on a Saturday night and that game is on, that has value. There's no bartender that's going to turn on some digital stream only, Amazon Prime, Apple Plus, Netflix, whatever.
Yeah.
So anyway, keep an eye on that.
I totally agree with you, and that's one of the reasons I actually started my channel, is to talk realignment and really try to dive into I call it kind of a psychosis, where the Pac-12 people have talked themselves into a corner, and now they really don't have a lot of options. They've lost all their bargaining position. SDSU threw their bargaining paper out the window while they were driving down the road. They never will see that again. And anything they get is going to be pretty much scraps. And that's unfortunate. I think SDSU deserves to be a P5 school. I'm not 100% sold on SMU, but yeah, they probably do too. So it's really an option that I just feel bad that these guys have done this to themselves. I hope the Four Corners come to the Big 12. Hell, I want Washington, Oregon to come into the Big 12. I mean, they just cashed a check for what? $44 million the Big 12 did. The same distribution to the Pac-12 is like 21 or 22 million. Utah got like 28 after they had some credits and some other things.
They had to pay Comcast back.
Well, yeah. Or how about the Holiday Bowl?
What? Yeah, the Holiday Bowl. What the heck?
Yeah, that was so mismanaged. It was insane. So I think I really appreciate your opinion. I think that's right. I'm thinking the exact same way, and I really hope that they are able to find something. But June 30th is coming up really quick.
It's gnarly for them because like it got leaked, and it's like I don't think anyone's independently going, we need to add San Diego State right now.
No, what's the
now? If there were a couple others that were super enticing, and it's like best of the rest, I could see where the Big 12 could be like, we want to cut you off at the knees, and we're going to grab the best of the rest right now.
Right.
But I don't know how quickly you want to get to like 20 teams, because obviously the Big 12 wants to be in the Pacific time zone. I wouldn't think their first and second choices are San Diego State and Gonzaga.
No. I don't
I
think so
would
either.
think they are. Oregon and Washington, probably not available. Four corners types, yeah. And let's not forget the sort of geopolitics of the situation. I always wanted BYU in the Pac-12. Grew up in the
Right.
Northwest. I love that. Obviously, there was bigotry on both sides with BYU's religion, and then Stanford and Cal, sort of more liberal mindset.
Right.
They didn't get along. There were issues with USC had with BYU. I've been told,
Right.
certain donors and whatnot. It was not going to work because it's just blue state versus red state stuff.
Yeah.
It's religious versus non-religious. The Big 12 is the perfect league for BYU.
Really.
It is all these like red-blooded Republican,
Right.
Christian faring like types. You know what I mean? Like, yes, there are going to be issues, but I didn't realize it until BYU got invited. I was like, oh, that's actually like geopolitically the best league BYU could be in.
I
Like,
agree 100%.
not and like style of play, BYU's like a Big Ten team,
Yeah.
but like the geopolitical thing, the Big 12 is great. I'm not saying that you can't make it work because at the end of the day, you kind of do. But the whole academic research institute, it's just a load of crap. And I'm glad BYU is going to the Big 12. But we'll see with San Diego State. Like, what they need is the Pac-12 deal to come out and for some teams to either stay or go. And then
Right.
suddenly they're kind of option number 2 or 3. And then you go from there. I think the Pac-12 deal is what is holding this whole thing up for them and Gonzaga and the UConns of the world.
Right. Well, and who knows that nobody else is on a timer, right? The Big 12 is in no rush. They don't have to make a decision anytime soon. They can deal from a position of strength. So, yeah, everything you said there is exactly right. What do you think about the status of the Holy War? Do you think it's more important for them to be in conference, or is it still okay for us to stay with an out-of-conference game if you had a choice of the two?
Oh, if I had a choice,
Yeah.
I would love for it to be in league.
Okay.
I just because then you guarantee it happens.
Right.
The
Right.
league would give you that game every year. They would never not have it. And I love the game. Like, it's my favorite sporting event all year. Like,
Right.
it's the best. From when I moved to Utah from 95 to 2012, except for my mission, I went to every game. Like, it was up in Salt Lake or I went to every stinking game. I love that game. And I've seen all these classic moments, right? The coincidence of the thing is BYU TV took me out of going to the game because I was producing the pre
Right.
on promo. I was like, oh man, I've worked here and I can't even go.
That
It's
sucks.
okay. It's okay.
That does.
There are bigger things than that. But I want the game in league. I love it. And they're playing in like almost every sport besides football. And BYU's going to take a few years off here and there, by the way. Tom Holmoe told us last time or last summer or two. He said, hey, there'll be a couple years we don't want to play either. So I'm hoping they play 6 out of every 10 years.
Okay. But if it's in conference, they'd probably be in the same pod, and then they play every year.
10 out of 10. Which
Yeah,
we'll
I
see what
agree.
that looks like, by the way. Like
I
once we go to, there's no divisions,
Right.
otherwise it would have been obvious.
Right.
Yeah, so we'll see, man. It's gonna be different. Like next year, I don't have a good sense of, yep, you are playing these teams in this location. Like they haven't specified how they did the schedule.
It looks pretty crapshoot. The one thing that we all as BYU fans love is that we got both Texas and Oklahoma on the way out. Nobody else got that. And I feel very grateful that you know, having Oklahoma here in November. There's an Oklahoma guy that's my partner in the Midwest, and his name's Jason, and he said he's actually a little bit anxious about coming up here in November and winning. And then in the flip side, Oklahoma State says the same thing. They're like, well, wait a second, now you have to come and play us. So people respect BYU. It's been pretty cool.
Yeah, I can't wait to carve out the new sort of what's it like to play this team and like who's going to become the St. Mary's and men's hoops that we did not see coming, that we're just going to be like, we're going to have a couple of these moments where they don't like us and we don't like them.
Right.
But it's like, and then there's the Gonzaga element where it's like, you're really good, but like, we respect you. We don't hate you. We respect you. But like,
that was really cool, by the way. That quote was really cool when, who's their star when he said that in that press conference in the spring?
Yeah. Let's see. It's Kyle Wiltshire, I want to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't remember
Vegas,
anyway.
like, hey, we respect them. And it's easy to say after you win.
Of course.
Which is the case. I don't know that they'd say that in the loss, but
all
good.
Nick M here says belonging to a Power 5, soon to be P4, soon to be P3 conference is not a right. You're preaching to the choir here at BYU. We know that isn't a right, and it's a privilege. But at this point, it's also who's your friend and who isn't. It's an influencing people. Stephen R. Covey should be doing realignment right now, because if you're pissing people off, they're not going to invite you to the club. What do you think about the P5-4-3 thing? Where do we end up in? I'm going to say 2031, when the next Big Ten contract is done, the Big 12 contract is done, and maybe the ACC blows up. Do we end up with a strong P3? I hate the P, by the way. Three conferences.
We're also hosting a Rugby World Cup in 2031, which is exciting.
Okay.
It's a big year. Yeah, there's at least 3. I would think there's at least 4.
Okay.
Look, the Pac-12 might survive. It just depends if they're okay being 5th. Like, if they're okay being 5th, and like 5th by like 2 or 3 times from the AAC, which is like Conference USA now after they got gutted with a couple, then they'll be okay. Like, the expanded playoff is going to get them an auto bid, and then they'll probably have a second team that's in the mix there, right? Like, if they had 2 teams leave, they could still survive, in my opinion. If 4 teams leave, now it's tough. Like, if you're down to like 6 or 8, like 8, you can add SMU and San Diego State, and like, okay, you're clearly the 5th, but you're in. Like, remember, the Big East wasn't like a juggernaut, but it was P6 for a while.
That's
and
right.
Then it went down, right? As those teams got plundered and so on. Like, in basketball, it's Power 6. The Big East is still there. So, at least 4. It could probably still be 5 in 2031. But it all depends on whether they're content to be 5th. If they are not, and I mean every individual school in there, like if Arizona and Colorado are like, we're not about this, the Big 12 and Brett Yormark and that innovation and those numbers are what we need to do, then, yeah, I could see where something happens and Washington State and Oregon State are in a weird spot. Oregon and Washington are going to be just fine. You think Stanford and Cal would be just fine? We'll see.
Well, I'm really hoping that at the end of the day, wherever BYU ends up, it needs to be in one of those basically P conferences. No matter what blows up, I think BYU's now put themselves in a position with their success and also with their organization, with Tom Holmoe and BYU itself. I think we're in a better position now than we've ever been. Is that kind of what your opinion is?
1,000,000%. I think we've been ready for this for 30 years.
Right. Well, 40 for me, it's been 45. So
nice. I think, like competitively in football, we've been ready since the early 80s.
Right,
like,
of course.
Once we had sustained success, like we had one of the greatest 6-year runs in college football history of quarterbacks and winning and draft picks. Like, it was amazing. Yeah. Like in 1985, we could have jumped in, right? Obviously, like 95, 96, when the whole like Texas Governor Baylor thing cabal,
right.
Like, we were ready then. We've been ready. We were ready in 01. We were ready. We've been ready, and we've been disrupting the system. In 79, almost went undefeated. 84, obviously, win the Natty. 90, we're 2 games away from being top 2 or 3.
Oh, don't talk to me about that 90 team.
I know.
Oh my gosh, I have nightmares.
96, obviously finishing 5th, but not getting a shot in a bigger bowl game. 01, we're the 3rd BCS buster because Tulane and Marshall did it. We kind of helped them in the bowl games those years. We've been in those spots. Boise State became what we had been in that space, right? And we unfortunately would lose 2 games instead of just the 1 game or 0 for a couple of years. And then we went independent and carved out this unique spot, and we've still been relevant despite independence. And we're not Notre Dame, like we never will be Notre Dame, but we did it our way, which was the best we could do. And now finally got the invite and have a chance to prove ourselves. It's going to take a minute in football and men's hoops to get to the space we want to be in, but we have the right people in place. We're going to start renovating at a great level, I imagine, in the next couple of years, like we were talking about. We have the right coaches and so on, and so we're recruiting better. Like, I'm stoked, man. Like, I could not be more excited about where we're going and what we're doing. And are there flaws? Are there issues? Yes. But, like, we're going to work through those and get to a point where we're very competitive. I don't have to say we about BYU, but it's
what do you mean? I say we.
On BYU, on BYU TV, we're trying to avoid it. Trying to say
right.
But we know who cashed the checks. But I'm like you, Nathan. I'm stoked, man. I cannot wait for the next couple of years. I'm not looking at it as like, we compete right away. In some sports, yes.
Right.
In football, we're going to build up to that.
Okay.
But yeah, let's go to a bowl game and let's see how hard it is. We have no idea what this is going to be like. We've never played 10 P5s. If we play a bowl game, it's going to be against P5 again. 11 in a row.
I know. It's going to be, I can't even tell you how excited I am. Right before you go, we got one more. We got a super chat here from K2, who looks like he's a KU guy. When do you guys think when the Pac-12 Pac-12 will release its media deal, and how soon after that do we see a realignment movement? I'll let you go first, Jarom.
First off, thank you to K2. We're so excited to be in the same league as Kansas. And hey, the more I dig into Kansas football, the more I'm like, that offense is cooking.
Yeah,
like,
they are.
That is going to be a way tougher game than we think. Now, defensively, Kansas was like BYU last year, just awful. Cost them a bunch of games, a bunch of shootouts. But I think it'll be within weeks. I think there's some power or Pac-12 schools that are sitting there going, okay, we probably need it to be at this number. They're sitting on a job offer, if you will. It's like, well, it's got to sort of match this. How loyal do we want to be to this? Like, what's the interest on the other side in having us? Like, if I'm Washington State or Oregon State, I'm like, hey, guys, just so you know, like, we'd be a great fit, right? Like, you don't want to go to the Mountain West or something. We'll see how many schools bounce. If it's like Colorado just feels like they need just like the simplest reason.
Well, they were never a fit in the Pac-12 anyway. They thought they were going to be the first school of many schools from the Big 12 back in 2010 to go to the Pac-12, and it ended up being they were the only one. So I think they want to come back.
They've never fit in any way.
Yeah, no.
They have some good sports. But football has obviously struggled. Men's basketball has been pretty good the last couple of years, but yeah, I think it could be a matter of weeks. Like these teams don't want to get left behind.
Yeah.
And I don't know that the Big 12 would be like, yes, we'll take 8 of you. Like, I don't know that they want to go to 20. So we'll see. But your mark is clearly stated we're open for business, aka Pac-12. There's some of you we want. Like,
right.
That's what it feels like.
At the end of the day, the Pac-12 better do something because when is their media day is July 21st, I think. And between now, that's basically a month. So they've got a month to come up with something that they can announce, that they can be proud about. Could you imagine the Pac-12 this year is going to be stronger than they've been in the last 15 years. They got 7 teams that have quarterbacks that could be in the NFL next year. And they are loaded. Every one of these teams are loaded, all the way down to Oregon State. And then you can even, Arizona State has some potential. I mean, there's only 4 teams that really aren't in play for the entire thing. How in the world do they not want to just be talking football instead of talking media deals?
Yeah, there comes a point where it's like, and most of the media deal stuff, is going to be like athletic directors. Head coaches will get asked questions. They'll just defer to ADs at that point.
Right.
There comes a point where, and granted, I mean, the Big 12 stuff happened, week 2?
Yes.
So right. It can bleed into the season.
Yeah.
It's not like, nope, we shut it down. We're not talking. It's like, it could happen in the season. But they have, they could in theory go to next year still with this. They don't have to do it early, but the Big 12 put the pressure on them. Right. Like your mark by going a year. At the time, it was 2 years early. But then Oklahoma and Tech spot out a year. Now it's only a year early. Getting that done ahead of time, it's like, all right then. Which, by the way, I have learned that BYU's cut of the overall revenue from the Big 12 is more than I thought. It's a shade under 20 the first 2 years, 20 mil.
Really? I thought it was going to be like 16, 17.
Well, I was thinking it was a little lower than that.
Oh, even. Okay.
And I'm told it's significantly more than they've had.
That's fantastic.
So, which is great. Like BYU's in a good spot. And then once BYU gets into the Big 12 in 2025, now it explodes to somewhere between 40 and 50 mil. Like you're doubling the number that you may have already doubled.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So it's great news. And honestly, I would like the Pac-12 to stay together. I'd be fine with that. Like, I don't need the Big 12 to raid the Pac-12. I like the Pac-12. I'm not anti-Pac-12. Like I said, I grew up there. I would love for those rivalries to stay intact. Obviously, USC and UCLA are exceptions as they leave. But
I think Washington and Oregon have kind of checked out too. They're just waiting for their invite.
And I don't know that. Yeah, you want more increased TV money, but you also have easier access to the playoff by being the auto bid.
Sure, but if
like,
your exposure is, go ahead.
That's Utah's play. That's if I'm
I
Utah,
know.
I'm like, we don't want to leave. Competitively, it's better.
Yeah, but your exposure in 3 years, your program will be nothing if nobody's watching your games because you're on Apple TV and CW.
If that's what it well, don't forget the Maverick gas station. If that's what it actually
That's right.
is.
That's
which,
right.
by the way, the other day I started filling up, and the volume was like way too loud on, and it was like, hey, what are you doing? And I was like startled, like someone had just come and yelled at me. I was like, what in the world? And then every time I think of like, would a college football game just pop up on it? No way, that's a joke. But yeah, if it realistically is like streaming and just like third or fourth best TV station situation, yeah, that does suck. Then maybe you want to lose. And
right.
at the end of the day, is it like 100% about that TV revenue number, or does it matter what channel you're on with the number?
I just don't know. You know, they talk about everybody wants to watch these games on their phones. And I'm thinking, who's watching their game? I've got a big 70-inch screen downstairs I'm watching my game on. Who's watching their game on their phone? And yet I can't tell you how many times Glavkov says, well, we want to make it so that our guys can watch our recruits can watch their games on their phones. I'm like, who are you? He doesn't even know who his customers are. It is insanity the way that they've managed that.
Just as a secondary experience, though, it's like if I have to go to the grocery store late Saturday night, yes, I have the phone out.
Sure.
But I'm not sitting down to watch it for 3 hours on my phone.
No. Well,
like I'm going to the basement.
If you're going to Macy's to get ice cream with your wife, yeah, you're going to have it in your pocket. But other than that,
she ain't coming with me. She wants to stay home. So, like, yeah, I got the AirPod in, man.
I understand. I get it. I've walked many zombie aisles shopping with my wife doing that. I must admit. I got a comment here from Greg Swaim, who happens to be one of my partners. He says, who cares about the Pac-12 drift-offs? We got BYU already. That's talking about the Utah zone for television coverage. Told Jarom a decade ago. So you know, Greg, who is keeping them from getting in, and now those malcontents are almost gone. So have you talked to Greg Swaim? Oh, I lost Jarom. Jarom, can you hear me? His camera just died. Well, that was a lot of fun. I'm hoping Greg actually was here to see that, because I did read his comment. We'll wait a second and see if he comes back. There, he's back. That was fun.
Hey, sorry, my Comcast bill from the Pac-12 wasn't paid. So
okay.
I had to pay them back, and then they got me back in.
All right, when you went to the Holiday Bowl, right? At the same time. Yeah.
I was going to go, and then I didn't. But.
So do you know Greg Swaim? That was my question to you.
I know of Greg Swaim. Yeah,
okay, he's mentioned you here. He says told Jarom a decade ago. So he remembers talking to you over a decade ago. Who was keeping them from getting in, and who was that was keeping BYU out of the Big 12 at that time?
I would assume he's referring to Texas and Oklahoma.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
But he's really excited to have BYU in. He talks about BYU all the time, and he's one of a bunch of guys that I put together in sort of like a collection of people doing what I'm doing now to try to cover these different schools, and we're trying to build a little network, which is pretty cool.
It is cool. Yeah, keep it going. We're all in this, right? And
I appreciate that.
And to his point, like if the Pac-12 survived, great. Like I said, I wouldn't mind it. If they don't, you can secure your spot as the third best league. Like we think it's the third best league right now, right? Based on revenue, based on competition. But it's like once Texas and Oklahoma leave, we got to see that.
Right.
Got to prove it. Like I want someone to emerge as a power. And I don't know that it's going to happen. There's too many good teams, like the Pac-12 has had a little bit, where it's like, well, we've eaten our own, and then we haven't put anyone in the playoff. But the expanded playoff in a year or two is going to mitigate some of that. But is it going to be 3 Big Ten, 3 SEC, and then it's like, oh shoot, did we get a second team into that?
I think we will.
That's the hope. But if you get the Pac-12 drift-offs, you lock up. We are the third best. To me, even if you got just 4 corners and that was it, hey, we're the third best league. Like we're number 1 in men's hoops. We're number 3 in football. That's a good spot to be in. It really is, because we're not going to be the SEC. We the league, the SEC or Big Ten, in many regards, mainly money. It's okay. Like getting a bronze medal in the Olympics is awesome.
That's right.
Was it Jerry Seinfeld that said, like, you don't want to be silver, you just miss it. Like, ta-da,
you're the
bronze.
first.
You're like, I got it.
That's right.
Like, a bronze in the TV revenue Olympics is just great.
Yeah, I agree. And yeah, there will be an imbalance for a while, especially until we start proving out that the Big 12 is that third conference. But between that and the basketball strength, I definitely believe we have the opportunity to be 50, 60 million in 2030, 31 when the next contract comes up. Because and if Brett Yormark's with us, great. I don't know. He seems like he's a high flyer. He might be gone by then. But he certainly put the Big 12 on a big, huge, expansive path. And as long as we all keep, doing well, I think we have a chance to be that 2 or 3 even in a good season. You could have 3 teams from the conference.
Let's hope so, right? And because you have 12 teams and because you don't have divisions, that'll make some things different that way. But yeah, competitively, yeah, it'll be fun, man. And like, what have we wanted out of a Power 5 experience as BYU fans? We've wanted the chance to compete.
Access.
Yes, access and exposure. We've had the exposure. We checked that box with ESPN.
Yeah.
We stay with ESPN and Fox. It's going to be great. We've upgraded BYU TV with secondary sports and studio shows and features on athletes to humanize them. Like, all that's been awesome. What we didn't realize was we actually wanted to compete in the revenue game too.
Right.
Like, and that helps obviously recruiting and the fan experience and so on and so forth. So I'm confident BYU is going to do a great job there. And listen, BYU's got to win. They got to win. This is a new challenge. This is a new frontier. But BYU's always been up for that. The sort of DNA of the members of the church has always been like, we go to a new place and we thrive.
Right, absolutely.
New York, we went to Pennsylvania, we went to Ohio, we went to Missouri, we went to Illinois, Utah.
Yeah.
That's the DNA of sort of our people, if you will. It's like, we work hard and we figure out a new situation, a new place, and this is the next one. This is the next one in the sports metaphor is the Big 12.
If BYU goes 8-5, what's their recruiting look like next year?
First off, I'm happy. I would take it.
Well, I would be ecstatic. Yeah.
I'm expecting 6-6.
Yeah.
7-5-ish. The recruiting's good. You're getting more of these sort of these transfer portal guys that want good culture, want good quarterback play. I hope Keaton Slovis can get into the day 3 of the draft.
Right.
And then we go 3 starters in a row. Kingsley leaves. Hopefully his first round pick. 3 left tackles in a row. Maybe Aiden Robbins blows up. Maybe he goes pro. Right. Who knows? Like, hey, we got multiple we have skill position players now in the NFL.
We got some receivers now as well.
When has BYU had 2 receivers in the NFL?
It's crazy. Kozlowski, well, that was a tight end. I was going to say Kozlowski.
Kozlowski was a receiver.
Yep. He was. I was trying to think of a receiver that was his match, and it wasn't actually. He was a tight end. So Gordon Hudson is who I was thinking of.
So. And Gordon had some injuries, didn't really do well with Seahawks, unfortunately, which would have been fun for me. But it's tough. So BYU's becoming, recruiting better. Like, everything's getting better, which is great. It can only go up from here. Will there be more losses than maybe we've had? Yes. But we've walked into the gym. We're putting more weight on, and we're going to get stronger. But at first, it's going to be hard to equal those reps, right, that we had on Mountain West schedule, WAC, Mountain West. Independence, we challenged ourselves. Yeah. My point in, like, a couple years ago, I was going crazy about the schedules, right? It's because there was no Power 5 invite sitting there. Had I known that, I would have said, this is the ramp up. We're good. But at the time, I was like, what's the point? Why are we scheduling 5 losses a year?
Right.
Going on the road for 3 of the first 4 against P5. What are we doing? But now it's like, no. Now this schedule is the best ramp up we've ever had, which is like 2 winnable games at home.
Yes.
Now you go challenge yourself on the at Arkansas in the SEC. That's a tough game. And then obviously at Kansas is tough, and then Cincinnati at home. By the way, there's no way BYU lose that game against Cincinnati.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Yeah.
There's no way. It's
what time? That's an 8 o'clock
Friday night. It's gonna be buzzing, dude. That's Utah 21. That's Baylor 22. There's no way BYU loses that game.
All right, you got to give me that press pass and get me in the game.
The Buccaneers in the press box is great.
Yeah, I know. I think it's going to be great, and the Cincinnati game is going to be incredible. And Kansas is the first one, but I really think everybody's looking at that Cincinnati game. And honestly, they could go 4-1 their first 5 games. Arkansas is going to be a tough, but I think they can win the others.
Yes, got to go 3-2 at least.
Yeah.
if BYU starts 4-1, it's going to be a classic. It's going to be a classic season of the last 15 years where it's like,
yeah. Well, don't say that.
But I would take 4-1.
Right.
But the backs, dude, the back seven's real tough.
Yes, it is. But you know what? That's what we wanted. Look, that's all we've wanted. So BYU people should not be complaining. We have access. We're in the game now. Now we got to get out and show up. Jarom, I really appreciate you giving me as much time as you had. I could go another 2 hours, but I really appreciate you coming. I hope you'll come to my show back. And you can talk to Spencer. He doesn't have his DMs open, so I can't reach him. So have him send me a message and I'll talk to him. Well, let him know I'd like to chat with him if you wanted to talk. Anyway,
hey, Spence, what? No.
Thanks for coming tonight. I really appreciate it. And hopefully I can get you scheduled again in 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And we can get caught up. Are you going to go to Big 12 Media Days?
BYU Sports Nation will be there. We're very excited.
Okay. I applied for a media pass. If I don't get that, I've got connections. So I think I'm going to go. I just need to know that I can go and see people that I know. So that's my biggest concern. Media people. I don't. Anyway.
We will be there. And I'm excited to meet the Big 12 media folks. We've talked to some of the play-by-plays from different schools during the summer, which has been great. But yeah, we'll be there doing live shows Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, July 12th, 13th, and 14th.
Okay. If I end up going, I'll send you a message. I definitely will want to hook up. All right. Awesome. Well, thanks for coming. Thanks for joining the Big 12 Mafia show. Everybody, thanks you for watching. I really appreciate the donation I got from K. Drew and everybody else. Thanks for joining us. And we have another show on Friday. I believe that's going to be at 5. No, sorry, it's going to be 7 Eastern. So join me then. And then Holy Rivals on Saturday at 5 o'clock Eastern. Be there, be square. Thanks again, Jarom. You have a great night.
You got it. Thanks, Nathan.
Peace.